everyone does. We're all struggling with that feeling, but I promise you, you deserve it, and you deserve that love, and you deserve that better life.
What's your name and where are you from?
My name is Julian Bugbee. I'm from actually Metro Detroit. I'm from this suburb called Shelby Township. Grew up there kind of my whole life. It's just kind of a nice little suburb up in the Detroit area. I have to tell everyone when I go out of town, like, I'll say I'm from Detroit, but I'm not. Like, it's pretty far out from the actual Detroit area, and it's all suburbs. But
do you ever do the hand thing? Like, I'm from here?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think most people kind of know the area of Detroit, but yeah, the hand thing is too classic. But it's, it's like
right there.
right north end of Detroit. It always shocks locals to Kalamazoo when I tell them it's like the distance, even though I'm in Metro Detroit, from me to downtown is the distance of here to Grand Rapids. It's really far. But I just kind of grew up as a suburbs kid, and just spent a lot of time playing soccer and reading books and that sort of whole thing.
When did you discover your passion for music?
That's something I've been thinking about, and it's like, the more I think about it, the more it's like, it's just one of those things that was always kind of like right in my peripheral vision of, I didn't really start seriously doing music until I was probably 15, but as far back as I can remember, I've always kind of had a connection with it. And I remember, like, whenever I was a kid, I would go to Target and I would just like race to the section that had the headphones, and I would try them out and see what the best sounding ones were. Or I think the big thing was when I was 7 years old, maybe 6 actually. I was sitting in my mom's car, and there was a song playing on the radio, and I was like, "Oh, who's this woman that's singing? I really like this." And she said, "Oh, this is not a woman. This is Michael Jackson." And I think it was I think it was The Way You Make Me Feel. I really liked that song, and so we went home, and she showed me. She had like all these cassettes, and I used to. She used to like put it on for me before I would go to bed at night. When I was like 6 years old, I would just be listening to Michael Jackson cassettes, and I'd go back and get out of bed and rewind them and replay them. And I just had this like deep obsession with Michael Jackson when I was a little kid. And then, I joined band when I was in 6th grade, and I played clarinet. And then I decided to continue in middle school because I really liked, I got really into Skyrim, the game. And I loved the soundtrack so much that I thought I could kind of do stuff like that if I was in band. So then I just played in band all throughout high school. But I think one of the big turning points for me really was, there was a summer, I remember, I played guitar a little bit for like 6 months when I was a kid, and my parents were trying to like find hobbies for me, and I didn't really connect with it. But then my dad got me, he got me in guitar lessons, and then I left the lessons. And then like years later, when I was like 14, I think, my like best friend from high school, we talked about how we wanted to like start a band together. And he sent me a Queens of the Stone Age song. I remember it was The Evil Has Landed. It was like the week after it came out, and he sent it to me, and I liked it so much that I got the guitar out of the corner of my like house, and I learned it. And that was like the first song, and I don't think I could play it very well, but it was a kind of an ambitious song to learn. It's a lot of notes in it, but I just tried to learn like almost the entire song. And from there, I just became obsessed with guitar. And that was like all I wanted to do throughout high school.
Did you guys end up forming that band and performing that song, or?
We did a lot of jamming. I think we maybe played that song. We would just I'd go to his house, and we'd go like in his like spare room in his house and his parents' house, and just like jam and yeah, we probably played that song. We never really got to form our own band, but halfway through my final year of high school, I remember I went into a Jimmy John's, and I recognized the guy who was working there as a guy who had a band, this 2-person band called the Non-Professionals. And it was this guy, Christian Warner, who was like this older kid from band that I knew. And I asked him, I was like, hey, are you like performing anytime soon with your band? And he was like, well, I need a guitar player and a bass player. So I told him, I was like, oh, well, you know, I'm a guitar player and my best friend is a bass player. And, you know, and he said like, oh, okay, I'll text you. And I remember I was with my like high school girlfriend at the time. And I remember we walked out of the Jimmy John's, and I turned to her and I said, I think I just joined a band. And I ended up joining that band for 3 or 4 years, I think, basically from like the end of high school until about a year and a half ago, I played with them. And my buddy, the bass player, Stevie, he's still actually in that band. And I just got to do a show with them in Detroit, and they're like good friends of mine. But so I guess we did finally get to play in a band, but it wasn't like our own band. But yeah. So that was a big thing. It was really fun.
I imagine you learn a lot from your first band.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy looking back. The first show I ever did as a guitar player was with that band. It was the summer after I graduated high school, during COVID. And I played with the Non-Professionals, and it was at my like best friend's grad party. And I was so nervous to play in front of like 15 to 20 of some of my closest friends and like my family that in between our 2 sets, I went to the bathroom and I almost threw up. And it's so funny to me looking back on that, because that was 5 years ago. And it's just imagining that, you know, I just got to play Frederick Meyer Gardens with Headband Henny, and it was probably 1,500 people. And it's like, wow. I just got on stage and I was just like, here I am, you know. It's just crazy how much that's changed, because I still feel like kind of the same person. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, actually, you came highly recommended by Headband Henny to interview. Yeah,
no, I love Henry. Me and him really inspire a lot of each other's work. And it's crazy because we only just met like last summer. And I had known him because he is just kind of became a Kalamazoo legend. And he caught a show I was doing with my current band, The Situation, at Club Sandwich. We just like kind of lucked into getting this opening spot. And he was at that show, and I introduced myself to him. And I knew who he was, and I'd seen him in the bars. You know, we frequented the same bars last summer. And I was like, yeah, man, I kept seeing you around, but I was like, I should have said, hey, but I was a little too afraid to. And he was, you know, Henry's such a teddy bear. He was like, oh man, like you should have come up and said something. And then he asked me what my favorite chord was. And since I studied composition in college, I gave him like 20 different chords and he put them in his notes app. And I think he's still told me he hasn't checked all of them out yet, but yeah, no, and that was how we first met, and we just started just immediately being friends and wanting to work together and stuff. But yeah.
If you don't mind, can we rewind back to, you said you went to college for composition. Could you touch on that a little?
Yeah. I don't fully always know how I came to that over everything else, but I think really the biggest reason was, so I went to school at Western Michigan. I started in 2020 during the COVID year, which was rough. But yeah, I went for composition instead of like guitar or anything else. And I think I had this theory that I was like, all of my favorite people, it's like always about how well written the music is. And it's always about that. Like, I've loved the Beatles for years. And for me, it was always like that they were just the best at writing music. And I was into so many different kinds of music that instead of taking like a songwriting class, I was just like, I want to learn how to write all music. So yeah, when I actually started, I was writing songs, but I also was like composing classical music and like string quartets. I was really into, and like, I just spent a whole year just kind of only listening to like Mozart and Stravinsky and trying to learn that before I ever like wrote even a half decent 3-minute song. So I came to it very backwards. I like started out with music that was like this, and then I kind of had to shrink it down to like the small little pop songs that I write now. But yeah, it's helped me be able to like work in a lot of different avenues, I guess.
Do you find that there's a lot of crossover with like classical music and the way that's written and these pop songs that you find yourself writing now?
Yes, actually. Yeah. That was like my favorite realization of being like in my sophomore, junior year, was realizing the connections between like a Mozart piece and a Paul McCartney song or a Taylor Swift song, and how, I mean, one of the things I love about pop music is how like condensed and refined it is. And it's always about like finding the most perfect version of something that can exist. And like taking off 10 seconds or 2 seconds or something, you know, to just tighten it up. And that's a lot of what classical music is as well. That's a lot of what like Mozart is. And a Mozart song or piece also just has a hook to it. They're all catchy. So yeah, no, there's a lot in common. And I had these really great teachers that were able to teach me that there's more global ways to look at things and music and see the bigger picture of it, outside of like the walls of genre that we've created. And yeah, it was really helpful. And I remember when I first hung out with Henry, one of the things is he was saying, he was like, I really want to go back to my songs off of his debut album, Purple. And he said, I want to figure out what I did right so I can do it again. And I was like, dude, I went to school and I studied songwriting and composition. Like, I can help you with that. And I saw his face like light up, and he was like, wait, really? And I was like, yeah, man. And we've just been nerding out on music ever since.
It's really cool how like two souls that are so entwined in music can like meet in the middle and like create something like really magical. Yeah.
No, I've always loved collaborating, and I almost don't even really know where I would be if I wasn't collaborating with people. I think like every major stepping stone in my life as a musician has been helped by having a really close, like, creative confidant. And I'm constantly surrounded by them now, different people that I can be creative with. But like my friend Stevie, who played bass, was like one of the first ones, but like Henry's a more recent one, and there's been so many in between. There's my friend Chase, he goes by Chase USA, and we grew up and we went to the same high school together, and the first probably moment of me wanting to do music professionally, or like as my career, was being 15 and working on a song with him in his basement. And we put it out and it just blew up out of nowhere. I remember him sending me the stats, and it got like 15,000 streams on Spotify in like one day. And I just remember like freaking out, being like, what? Like, people are listening to this, and this is like a thing that I could do with my life. And you know, Chase is still like a close friend of mine as well. But yeah, no, I think I really admire some musicians who, if you put them in a room or on an island for 10 years with instruments, they could come back with a lot of music. I don't know that I'm the same way. Like, I really like having other people to kind of interact with and have us inspire each other and
bounce ideas around. And
yeah, and just like to watch someone else do something, it like to watch your friend do something awesome is like the greatest permission to do that yourself, you know?
That's a good quote.
Yeah, I've gotten so much more confidence just with my own musician friends to like really fully come into being myself. And it really does help to have those people. At least for me, it's always really helped, and I've always had people like that around me, you know?
I find it inspirational to find people from different walks of life. Like you mentioned, Henry, he's like a Ugandan immigrant.
Yeah.
And you said you're from the suburbs of Detroit. And so like, you guys can, you know, like bring your ideas together is pretty cool.
No, it was so cool because it's like, especially with the internet now, things are so much less locationally based on what kind of experience you have. So, you know, he grew up here in Kalamazoo, I grew up in Detroit, and we hung out and we found out we were listening to all of the same stuff when we were in high school, and we were watching like all the same stuff on YouTube, and all those people like Steve Lacy and like Claro, and you know, the whole SoundCloud scene was just like such a big influence on both of us. Even though we were both just completely on two different sides of the state, we kind of, being the same age, had almost the same kind of experience, just with it all being kind of influenced by the internet and everything. But yeah, I don't know. The internet is really, really something now, and how it's can kind of bring people together who are from totally different areas, you know?
So we talked a little bit about your musical influences. Did you experiment with any other creative fields before or after music?
Yeah, I've always been into reading has always been a big thing for me, and writing. Way before music. I only came to music when I was like 15, I think, 14. I mean, I was in band like when I was a kid, but I didn't try for years. I didn't even really care. I was just doing it for whatever reason. But when I was really like probably around the time I was 7, I got really into actually the Harry Potter series, and I just would obsessively read, and that got me into wanting to be an author. But I think part of that came from like growing up in the suburbs. I mean, I think something that's kind of a classic stereotype about being a kid in like the Midwest suburbs is it is kind of boring in a way. People in rural areas, you know, you have nature and some of them grow up on farms and you have, you know, all that. And then people in cities, it's a lot more culture and life. But in the suburbs, you kind of have to create your own little world. So I got really into reading, and my parents also divorced when I was like a year old. So I was always split between 2 different houses. And for years, it was like, you know, I couldn't take my bike from one house to the other. I couldn't take my friends from one house to the other. I was kind of growing up halfway in between 2 different sides of Detroit, like 45 minutes away, where my parents lived from each other. So I think I was just always taking books with me, because it was like a really easy thing to do, to just like kind of get lost in my own internal world, no matter where I was at. And I think that's really always carried through. Now I just basically, whenever I travel, just take like a guitar with me and my headphones. And if I can get lost in my own musical world, then I can be pretty much anywhere, and it doesn't really matter. But
do you feel like you used like reading and escaping into these fantasies worlds as kind of an escape from boredom, or escape from like the strife of having a split family?
I think a bit of both, really. There's definitely a lot of stress around the household when I was a kid, and you know, with my parents' divorce, but also with like I was 6 years old when the housing collapse in 2008 happened, and my mom got laid off. And she was raising me and my brother as a single mother, basically. And it was a very stressful time for her. And it was hard for her to be working full time and then also raising us. And so things would get stressful, but, you know, and my brother, older brother, he always struggled with like ADHD and depression when he was younger. So I remember a lot of nights where I was kind of just by myself, and I would just kind of read Narnia or Harry Potter or any of these other book series, you know, Divergent, Hunger Games.
Kind of like
all
the popular young adult.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I started a Goodreads account, and I think I found out I read probably over 150 books by the time I reached high school, I think. So it was just, that was all I really did, was I would just kind of keep to myself and just read, because, yeah, I mean, I was constantly moving houses. My dad moved a lot, and I was going back and forth between my parents, and there was a lot of stuff that my family was dealing with. So that was kind of my way to just keep myself happy when I was alone, or things would be hard, or I was in an unfamiliar place. Was I could always just take my own internal worlds with me wherever I went. And that's always kind of given me like this comfort that it's like I can go anywhere. I feel like I could move to a different country, and you know, I'll still have that. I'll still have books and music and
that safe space.
Yeah, Yeah, it really is a safe space, and I get to bring it with me wherever I go, which is nice.
You mentioned with reading you were doing writing.
Yeah.
Can you touch on that?
Yeah, I think part of it was books, but actually video games as well. Like I said earlier, I got really into Skyrim, and again, it was the same thing as Escapism, and I started to realize I could create my own worlds. So I really, really wanted to be a fantasy author, and I still have notebooks of like just pages and pages of like maps I would draw, or like these long character descriptions and like descriptions of like in these fantasy worlds, like all the kings and the politics and the countries and all of this stuff. And yeah, before even I ever did music, I was like, that was like my thing, was I wanted to be an author. And I think a big thing, unfortunately, I mean, I've always loved music, but I think a big thing that caused me to go from wanting to be an author to being a musician was realizing that not many people actually connected with reading like I did. But I felt like everyone I know like has a favorite song, and I really wanted to, as an artist, to do something where I could try and positively impact as many people as possible. And that's one of my favorite things about music, is it feels like everyone has a favorite song. Everyone has like, a song that takes them back to their childhood, or a song that reminds them of the first person they fell in love with. And it really is this like very universal, transcendent way to affect people, positively or negatively, unfortunately, but I think mostly positively,
Yeah.
which is great about it. And so that was one of the reasons why I really wanted to go into music, and be a musician, was just that it was so much for everyone, and it could positively affect and connect with everyone.
With you talking about like wanting to connect with people a lot, did loneliness play a big part in your childhood or your formative years?
I don't think if it did, I realized it at the time. Yeah, I don't know. I think I maybe was a little bit, but I've always had my brother there for me, my older brother, and he's always been my best friend. And it's like when you're I've realized as I've gotten older that I have a lot closer of a relationship with my brother than a lot of people do with their siblings. And actually, much to my surprise, some people aren't close with their siblings at all. But when you're a child of divorce and you're going into different households, the one person that you know is the sibling that got sent with you. And we would do everything together because we were living through the same things, of course, but we were also like the one person that knew the other in the room. So it was always like a safe thing for us to hang out together.
I grew up the same way, and we always used to say it's two against the world. Like I always got you, you always got me.
Yeah. Yeah. And my brother's still like one of my closest, like creative confidants and one of my favorite people. And the older we've gotten, I mean, it's only expanded on that, and, just wanting to do everything together. And we send each other locations in the world of like, we're going to go visit this. We're going to go do this. We're going to go on all these adventures together.
Is he a musician as well?
He's a writer, actually.
Oh, wow. So okay.
Yeah. I stopped writing, and then he started writing. But yeah, no one in my family is really musicians. My parents are both musical. They have a deep connection with music, and they very much raised me on music. But Yeah, they don't know anything technical about it. My dad played drum set for a little while, so he has a little bit of knowledge on that. My mom actually was a dancer. So she has this like more physical connection to music, which helped me get into like funk and dance music, where it's like really music that exists within your body and in a relationship to it, as opposed to just your brain. But they were really impactful on me in that way. But at the same time, no one in my family even really plays an instrument.
Wow.
So, yeah.
How many do you play?
Well, I play 3, maybe. I mainly just sing and play guitar. On my songs, I sing, play guitar, and play bass and piano. And I used to play drums. But once I got in dorms, I stopped being able to practice, so I can't play drums anymore. And then when I was in high school, I started on clarinet, and then I did bass clarinet, and then I did alto saxophone for a little while, and they put me back on bass clarinet. And then I inherited my great-grandfather's trombone, so I started playing that in high school in marching band. And I played a little bit of mallet percussion because my high school did West Side Story. I picked up the alto saxophone again off a friend and tried to teach myself more. So I've played a lot of different things, but I would only really say I should get paid to like basically just play guitar. That's the only thing I can do very well. The rest were just kind of passing through. I got a little bit of knowledge on them, but yeah, I've played basically every major instrument family by now. So,
do you feel like having a strong background in reading and in writing has helped with your music writing?
Possibly. I wish it helped more. I still struggle to come up with good lyrics to songs. I really thought that if I had spent so much time reading and writing, I'd be a little better at it. But it taught me a lot about storytelling, and like one of my favorite rules I always try and follow within songwriting was something I got from books, which is like, I feel like if you open any book, I always noticed this when I was a kid, if you open any book, like the best written part of the book is always the first couple sentences. It's like super descriptive and intriguing, and it just pulls you in. So it got me to start thinking like, I should make every first line of my song make you want to lean in closer, so you want to listen more. So I guess it taught me a little bit about storytelling, and it made me really love storytelling, just in everything. So I guess, yeah, that was probably one of the influences.
I always feel like songs with a story kind of resonate more with people. I mean, people like dance and funk music that might just be catchy, but I feel like when you hear the songs that have a good story, it really resonates with people.
All of the songwriters that I'm hugely inspired by are storytellers, and that's really what they do well. Paul McCartney, Prince, Sting, like a lot of their songs feel like short films or short stories. They're super descriptive and visual. That's maybe one of the influences on literature on my songwriting, is I remember having a professor tell me in music school that my songs are very visual and that he could picture things. The language was very descriptive. And I think that's been probably an influence from all the reading I did. But more than that, it's probably also wanting to create things that you can get lost in, and creating entire worlds that really just draw you in. Because that was a big reason why I read as a kid.
Really stretching your imagination.
Yeah. I think some of my favorite music is really music that I can just close my eyes and start almost like dreaming to,
I dig that.
Visual and incredible.
Story progression, characters. Yeah.
Yeah, it puts you in a time and a place.
Did you ever experiment with like physical art, like painting or ceramics or anything?
I always wished I could, but every attempt I made was very bad. I've never been very good at physical art. The only, or visual art. The only visual art I've ever gotten into was I got really into film and cinematography right before I got into music. So while I was in middle school, I actually wanted to become a film cinematographer. So I watched just a lot of movies, and I learned who like Roger Deakins is, great cinematographer, and got down that world. And that's been really nice because it's always helped when I'm making music videos. Because I have to basically do almost all of my visuals myself or with the help of some friends. It really helps to have all of that film that I've absorbed and loved to be able to draw on when I need to do that for my own stuff.
Do you feel like taking like the time to learn about movies and cinematography kind of changes the way that you view movies today?
Yeah, I think one of the things I got out of really learning about music so in depth and so technically, having studied it for almost 5 years in college, is I've actually learned how much I kind of want to not know as much about other art forms. It really pulls back the curtain on everything, and it makes it feel a little less like a magic show. When I start being able to think about just being able to know on a technical level how everything came together. It's sometimes just fun to be able to just take it in without trying to see the seams on it and how it was all sewn together. But at the same time, it's taught me that art can be learned and it's all a craft. And I think I always get so annoyed when people use the word talent, because it's all a discipline and it's all something you have to care so immensely about. I think one of the biggest things with music is it's made me appreciate great forms of art in other fields. I've gotten way more into movies actually now that I've been in music, because I really can appreciate the attention to detail that has to be put into something like that. And it just makes you take it a little less for granted, when you experience a great piece of art.
So musically, what are you hoping to accomplish?
I think just my main goal is to just, I had this class where I actually had to answer this question in the form of a project, and it helped me reflect on that sort of thing. And I realized it's just like soundtracking people's lives, which is kind of the most humble version of what I can want out of being an artist, is just to do for other people what other people's art has done for me. But I mean, the dream is just to make stuff that people connect with in a really meaningful way, be make the song that plays at someone's wedding, or be the song that someone cries to, or the song that someone out there, is driving around with their friends late at night at 1 a.m. with all the windows down on a summer night, and they're like screaming the lyrics. It's like just getting to soundtrack those moments and just capture as much of what makes life, life as you can. Yeah. And I think that's kind of, I think hopefully why everyone's doing art, but, other than money, but
yeah,
if I can make enough money to keep making art and eat, then that's good enough for me, and just making as powerful of art as I can in beautiful art, and I really like to make things that uplift people. I used to write a lot of sad music, actually. And then I just I got in this whole different zone. I think I listened to a lot of Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder, and it's just unbeatable how much better you feel after experiencing that stuff. And I just kind of wanted to start doing that. And I think I've kind of, the last song I put out, Enough for Me. I wrote that for someone I was dating who really struggled with self-worth and feeling, lovable enough. And so I just wrote it literally as a reassurance, as a direct message. And I made that song, and I remember I had people DMing me saying that it really helped them.
Wow.
Afterwards, which was incredible. I had just kind of, in a way, I had kind of just written it for myself and the person I was writing it to, but to have other people see their own problems and see themselves in it and then feel reassured was really, really meaningful. And it always makes me happy when I get to hear that sort of thing.
That's the reason people should be making music,
Yeah. And there's this Prince quote that I really like, and I really feel it, that it's there's enough things to drag us down in life. Why, he says, why jack up our music the same way, and it's create things that uplift people and help people feel better. And I think, we were talking about growing up Gen Z, growing up on the internet. There's really, really a strong element, especially right now, to being very conscious of a lot of bad things going on in the world that are really emotionally taxing. And so it's just nice to hopefully give people some relief from that. I think we're very connected, and we see a lot of suffering and hear about a lot of suffering very easily and very frequently now. And I think a lot of people are in need of some spiritual reassurance and emotional reassurance and all that.
Absolutely. How many musical projects are you in right now?
For sure, I'm in Headband Henny, and then I'm playing with Shy Lee. There have been some other ones that have come and gone, or ones that, things are in transitional phases with. I used to be in the Non-Professionals with my friends back home. I was in Celeste Allison's band for a while.
I want to lock her down for an interview at some point.
Yeah. And I'm playing with Al Wesley right now. I played with my friend Cam Hatch, who goes under Hatch. I was in his band for a little while. So quite a few things, and I'm always trying to do more stuff. Even
and you have your solo work too, right?
Yep, I have my solo work. I have my band, The Situation. Unfortunately, I do think we're disbanding when Jude and the rest of the band all move to New York in the next couple months. But yeah, I do have that band, which has been really great, and it's really allowed me to connect to the community here. And then, yeah, I just have my own solo stuff. So I'm always staying busy, but I love being around other people and I love hearing other people's music and, you know, hearing someone else's songs. It really lets you, it's like, there's really a lot of like emotional intimacy to it. You really get to see inside of their head and see what they think sounds beautiful or what they really connect with. And it really shows you a lot about them in a good way. You know, it's a really beautiful thing. So I always love playing other people's music and experiencing their worlds. But
is there anyone you're hoping to collab with in the future?
Me and Henry are talking about doing a song together pretty soon. So hopefully we can get it together on that. Yeah, I could collaborate with just about anyone. Me and Lindsay have already done one collaboration, and I think we're going to work on some more. I want to collaborate more with Micah.
Micah Daily White.
Yeah, I think if we're going to expand out a little more to anyone, I'm always sad, really sad that I'll never get to meet Prince. I got into him actually because of his passing. And he's always been like my greatest inspiration, my greatest hero. And I've always wished that I could have got to meet him and work with him, because his music is like the closest to what music should sound like to my brain. And there's a artist named Borns who's he's from Grand Haven, actually.
Cool.
But his first album was probably the first album, aside from Michael Jackson, I would say, that I truly just got obsessed with. And I remember being like 14 and having like a crush for the first time, or, you know, having just serious feelings, and listening to his album Dopamine and just feeling like it just explains so much of my feelings. And that's still, I think, my favorite album ever. It's the album that if you like sat me down in a studio, I could probably recreate every second of it from memory, because I've listened to it so much. So I've just always wanted to work with him.
Is he still performing and everything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm seeing him for the first time in October.
Nice.
He's going on tour for that album, and he's performing the entire album.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be like
front row.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be like a kid there. I mean, because those songs are so special to me, and he had this song called Electric Love, and it's still like my favorite song ever. And no matter how many times I listen to it, like my heart rate still picks up when it comes on, and it's just so perfect. It's like the most perfect encapsulation that whole record is, but especially that song, of what it feels like to be in love and, you know, have feelings.
It's incredible how music can reach kind of a deeper part of us than just, you know, enjoying it or just tapping your foot, you know.
I think some of the most incredible music tells me feelings I didn't realize I had. I mean, I think that album, when I first listened to it, was showing me stuff that I didn't fully understand, but I think a lot of the songs that really hit me now, and a lot of the artists that really hit me, are showing me parts of myself that were there that I didn't fully understand or have a way to fully quantify. And it just puts it right there, right in front of your eyes, and you just kind of can look at it. There's really a lot of self-discovery in art. You know,
I feel like when you relate to a song that you really love, it kind of can give you a bit of courage to explore feelings that maybe you've pushed down or wanted to try to ignore?
Yeah. I think I had this interesting realization years ago about music, where I remember I found this old like deodorant that I had used in like middle school or something. And I smelled it for the first time in years, and it didn't bring me back to a time or place, because I think scent is more subliminal and subconscious than something like an image. But it brought me back to feelings that were existing in that time of my life. It was almost like this like weird Pavlovian emotional response, but it was all subconscious. And I had this realization where I was like, music is kind of like that. It takes you to places that you don't fully know what they are, but you know the feelings that are there. And it works so much behind the scenes compared to things that are visual, that are very direct.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's a song, it's called One Headlight by the Wallflowers. It's like a 90s pop jam. Mm-hmm. And every single time I hear it, I get this like vision in my head of driving to baseball practice with my mom and like looking out the back window of her truck on the way to baseball practice. Like, and I can hear that song. I've heard it 100 times since, and it always brings me back to that moment.
That's how I feel. Yeah, that's how it feels with that Borns album. And a lot of like, I started listening to Prince when I was like 14, 15. And again, like experiencing those first feelings of a crush to those songs. And I can listen to that, and it just takes me back to being like 14 and just in that puppy love, infatuation stage. And yeah, it's really incredible.
Cool, man. Well, hey, if people want to find your music, how do they do that?
I'm on everything as Julian Bugbee, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, YouTube, all that sort of stuff. Just as Julian Bugbee, Bugbee. People always think it's spelled differently, but it's actually a lot simpler than they're thinking. But yeah, and I'm everywhere. I got Instagram, YouTube, all that sort of thing.
All right. And what's one last thought for the camera?
One last thought for the camera. Yeah. I was thinking earlier today about some people that I had known that had really struggled to come into themselves, to be better versions of themselves, or think that they had earned the right to exist in that, to truly just chase a better life for themselves, or step into what they had kind of worked for or earned. I guess my message for the camera is like, go after everything, go after a better life, go after what you want, and you have earned it, and you do deserve it. And we are all struggling to feel like we have earned it or do deserve it, which means that everyone does. We're all struggling with that feeling, but I promise you, you deserve it, and you deserve that love, and you deserve that better life. And just go after it and chase your dreams and chase the best version of yourself with no fear.
It's beautiful. Beautiful, man. Thank you.